Can we take a few on the QB situation out and about in the NFL, starting with not Derek Carr.
No.
More on that in a second.
No.
Starting with this lazy little thing that I bet you went into the weekend and forgot about.
Lazy little thing called love.
You forgot that Brock Purdy was going to Arizona for a little meet and greet with people in the healthcare community.
Dr. Meister.
To decide whether or not the inflammation sensation
That's a buck.
had gone down enough so that on Wednesday of this week, Brock Purdy could have surgery and we could get the answer. Is it repair or reconstruction? And then once we have that answer, on you go into free agency to decide what to do about the quarterback room. We have this announcement to make.
It's big.
I have never been more excited in my life to tell anyone that another human being is about to have surgery. Ladies and gentlemen, Brock Purdy will have surgery on Wednesday, and the clock starts now. The countdown to QB1. Don't call him BP. That's a gas station. Brock Purdy, QB1. The clock will begin.
Perhaps.
On Wednesday.
Perhaps. If he has Tommy John, then...
No, it's that still starts a clock. It's just a longer clock.
Yeah, I suppose. But if he has Tommy John, his days of QB1 could be over because Trey Lance could lead you to a 15-2 record in the Super Bowl and then back to being irrelevant, Mr. Irrelevant. And it's something that many QB and NFL pundits have discussed in terms of Trey Lance. Let's say Brock Purdy has the internal brace repair and it's 6 months and he's out until mid-September because it takes time to ramp up, and Trey Lance leads you through preseason, and Trey Lance starts week 1 and Trey Lance starts week 2 and he looks good and you're 2-0 with a couple of victories, and then maybe Brock Purdy at that point is ready and is available. There will be a decision to be made, and that's going to be something that will be hanging over this team from Wednesday, the surgery, all the way up until the time that Brock Purdy is ready. How has Trey Lance looked? What other QB options do you have? I don't think it's as easy as, okay, Brock, here's your job now. It should be, but if Trey Lance balls out and he looks great and you're winning football games, might be tough to move off him that quickly.
I don't think we get credit for the multitaskers that we are sometimes in this job. Because it sounds like it's just two people sitting here having a conversation. Did you just render an amazing take and blow your nose at the same time?
It was more of a wipe.
Yeah.
Wasn't a full-on blow.
Yeah. You feeling okay?
I feel great,
you don't have COVID, do you?
No.
All
and
right.
actually...
just checking in on you.
You know me, I'm a huge believer and a fan of mask wearing. I wear my mask almost everywhere. Refereed 9 games, had it on the entire time. But occasionally...
Does that not... Do you not get winded?
No.
Really?
Not a lot of running. I'm doing 4th and 5th grade games, so mostly jogging.
I know. Well, that's...
back and forth.
Yeah. That's exercise when you're doing it for 8 hours.
9.
Okay.
The biggest drawback, honestly, halitosis.
Yeah.
Dealing with my own breath.
I think
that's the bigger issue.
That was actually the underbelly. The underbelly of the pandemic was people all got to find out if they were the person with bad breath. Like, you always think everybody else has bad breath.
Oh, yeah.
The pandemic taught us, no, you have bad breath.
No doubt.
And now you get to experience that.
Yeah. And it's the upside.
This is a tough moment
the
for a lot of
upside of
people.
wearing a mask, though, for me as a referee, is I don't have to worry about, because I talk to myself a lot, and if people can lip read.
You do?
It's like, especially when...
What do you say?
Well, when parents are like, there's a travel. And if I have a mask on, it's like, shut up.
Okay, but you're muttering to yourself. You're
Correct.
not talking to yourself. Okay, that's different.
Well, and now with the mask on, I can be a little bit more overt. It's like, I see you in the second row. Why don't you have a referee? Oh, I know why. You're gutless. I dropped a couple of Steiny gutlesses on people.
Yeah, but they can't hear you.
Nor can they read my lips because I have a mask on.
Right. Okay. All right. What
You tell me that's a travel? You should ref. Oh, you won't. You're gutless. Gutless. Exactly.
So here's the thing, though, with the repair, the reconstruction.
Right.
What do you make of this? Because
I'm going to wipe my nose during this. I got about a minute and a half.
Our buddy Mike Silver said if the surgeons were to go in there And if it was Tommy John, he would expect the 49ers to lob a call to Tom Brady. What do you make of that?
I think that it's clickbait, but it's also accurate reporting. So two things can be equally true. Ralph Barbieri, rest in peace. I think that as a reporter, you say that.
Can the truth be clickbait?
Absolutely.
It can?
Yeah. I mean, if you...
That's just interesting. It's not clickbait. Like, bait means like, oh, I'm going to make you think something's cool here, and it's not actually cool.
You go fishing, right? And you bait the hook.
Right.
And sometimes you catch a fish with that bait.
Right.
So the bait is effective. You're not just baiting the hook because, maybe a fish might be attracted.
No, it would be
effective.
No, it would be effective for the fish because the fish is the one that's falling for the bait. It would be effective for the fish if actual food was there that would then fall off the hook and they would eat it and get a meal out of it. But I'm sticking power bait on there, which is actually yellow and green clay.
Oh, gross.
That fish does not want, but it thinks it wants.
Oh, man.
And he ends up in a net.
You're out there duping fish.
Yeah, absolutely.
You fish duping SOB.
Yeah,
That's what we do.
We put them back.
Yeah,
anyway,
nice. Catch and release.
Yeah,
of course
exactly.
you do.
Yes,
of course you do.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think that it could be two things equally true here because any story about Tom Brady, they're going to lob a call to Tom Brady. Okay, of course they are. And, you're going to click on that. But the very idea of it, I think, makes some sense. If Brock Purdy is out, if he needs Tommy John and he's out for this entire football season, why wouldn't you call Tom Brady? It's his childhood team. He reportedly always wanted to be a 49er. We saw him at Candlestick in his Joe Montana outfit.
Okay, I'll tell you why you wouldn't call Tom Brady. However,
call him.
Hold that thought for a second. What about this? Because there are now also, and I'm not going to give you each name, but multiple reports, and these are from credible, respected NFL sources.
According to sources.
I know you don't like that, but okay. Credible NFL people. The names have been Andy Dalton, Baker Mayfield, Matt Ryan, Jacoby Brissett. These are, while not like, oh my gosh, the sexiest names, they are when you're talking about backups. These are names. These are names we know. These are former starting quarterbacks, high draftees, number one overall in some cases. These are big time names that the 49ers are poking around, checking on right now as free agency begins next week. How does that grab you?
It grabs me as a more likely route that the team will take. Now, if I want to go through all those names, I would imagine that each and every one of those players would rather be in a situation where they get more of a guarantee of playing time. And this is where Wednesday becomes so important, in my opinion, because if he is out for the year, if Brock Purdy needs Tommy John surgery, which most indications are that he will not need to go that route, and that Brock Purdy will be available in 6 months. If I'm Matt Ryan and I want one last go-round as an actual quarterback who gets to play actual football, I'm not coming to San Francisco where Brock will be back in September and you use 3 first-round picks to get Trey Lance. Am I going to come in here and fight to be a 2?
Well,
no. But if he's out with Tommy John and I can come in here and maybe be the starter or maybe compete with Trey Lance for QB1, that's a whole different story to me.
I guess that's kind of what I'm getting at. Like we talked for a couple of weeks about the size of the name that the 49ers would pursue if there were something wrong with Brock Purdy. And yes, Wednesday's surgery will now potentially determine the choices that the 49ers make. And I'm also not going to get too excited about this because right now it's just rumors. And I have no idea if this is actually what the 49ers are thinking and or if this is where they're poking around. However, if there's truth behind this and these are the names they're thinking about, I'm sorry. Here comes the anger. You can get all mad all you want. You can pin this on me if you want. Go ahead and do it. But here's the fact of the matter in my mind. It is yet another clue that the 49ers are not thrilled with Trey Lance. They are if any of this is true, you're telling me on Wednesday they go in there into Brock Purdy's elbows like, oh my gosh, this is reconstruction. And you start shopping for former number one overall picks who were starters in this league at the beginning of this particular year. This is absolutely sending a message. Like, you would not go call those people if you thought Trey Lance was going to be your starter, which if Brock Purdy's out, isn't that the way this is supposed to go?
Absolutely.
That's the way it's supposed to go. So why would Baker Mayfield or Matt Ryan sign with the 49ers if they thought, okay, Brock's out, but now I just got to go wait again behind a young hot shot up-and-comer, number 3 overall pick, 3 first-round picks, trade this guy. Why would I go do that? Unless I'm being told, yo, boy, you probably going to start, actually.
Yeah, you at least have a good chance to come in and start or compete. Or they're out there telling these other quarterbacks, Andy, Matt, Jacoby, let's be honest. You watch football. Our quarterbacks get hurt. It's what happens. And you can blame us or you can blame the players. You can blame the training staff. You can blame everybody. The unmitigated fact of the matter is quarterbacks who play for the 49ers, they get hurt. So you may not be the starter in week 1, but odds are you'll be the starter in some week because, it's what happens to our QBs here in Santa Clara.
Yeah, but the players aren't going to buy into that. That's a bunch of sports talk radio stuff that we do.
Those are facts.
Yeah, I know they are. I know they are. But they're not. They're not. It's like investing, right? Like, is what happened in the past indicative of what's going to happen in the future? No idea. Matt Ryan is not going to be like, you know what? I've got options. Baker Mayfield. There are people who think maybe I want to start, but I'm going to go to San Francisco because people always get hurt. Like, no player's going to think about it that way.
Well, if you don't have options, and that's where I think this conversation goes, because if Brock Purdy is able to come back in September and the team still feels that Trey Lance can be a quarterback on this team, and I do believe that they feel that. Maybe they don't feel confident he can be their starter if Brock is out. If you're going to be one of these veteran guys who actually has started a bunch of games in the league, then you're not coming to San Francisco to try to be just a quarterback. You're going to be looking more at, guys who are further down the pecking order in quarterback land.
By the way, with all the Baker Mayfield rumors, can I just weigh in with this real quick? I'm out on this idea.
I'm out too.
And it's not because I don't think there's some talent in the arm and even in the legs as well. Do I think in some other alternate universe, could Baker Mayfield actually could he make some interesting music with Kyle Shanahan? I actually believe the answer might be yes there. But I'm not bringing him into this situation. I'm not bringing him into this locker room, and I'm not bringing him into this quarterback room where so much has at least emotionally been invested into both Trey Lance and Brock Purdy. When I thought of this idea, when I saw this report over the weekend about Baker Mayfield to the 49ers, one of the names that oddly popped into my head was Colin Kaepernick. And here's why. I think all of us know what was going on behind the scenes with why teams wouldn't sign Colin Kaepernick, okay? There's all kinds of racial injustice and fear that are based in that story. However, what did you hear teams say as to why they didn't want to do this?
Distractions.
Thank you.
Yeah.
They did not want Colin to come in and be like, well, you're going to either be our backup, you might be our insurance policy, maybe you'll compete for a gig, but we'll bring you in and take a look. But all the while knowing that if they did that, Fox News and Sean Hannity were going to show up at your clubhouse. Nobody wants that. You don't want QB2 or 3 to be a loud story.
Even QB1. I mean, and that's ultimately.
Well, if you thought you could win, you do it.
Well, not if you were afraid that he was going to take a knee and, you were afraid of whatever backlash from your fan base that maybe doesn't align with, actual social justice causes. That was a huge part of it as well. It's not only the distraction, but why he was going to be a, quote, distraction.
I don't want reporters to be dying to get to the locker of QB3. And the fact of the matter is Baker Mayfield fits that mold. Everybody would want to go. They'd want to get a quote. They'd want to find out, have you been humbled? Is this okay with you? Do you think you want to start?
To a much lesser extent.
Right, but look what the 49ers, this is who Brock Purdy was at the beginning of the year. Quiet little assuming whatever, Iowa State put him in the corner, nobody wants to talk to him. Look at the other QBs they've brought in for that role in the last couple of years. Nate Sudfeld, Kurt Benkert, Josh Johnson. Like, nobody wants to go chat with Kurt Benkert. However, if Baker shows up, oh my gosh, come on. podcast. Let's go. Let's get in there. I mean, you don't want that. Why would the 49ers want that?
They probably wouldn't, but to me, it's even simpler than that. And the reason that I don't want Baker Mayfield is he's not good enough at what you need him to do. He turns the ball over far too often for my liking, and by my liking, I mean Kyle Shanahan's liking. If you look at his interception numbers, they're far too high. For his career, he's turned it over 64 times in 69 starts. That's too much. You have an offense where it's predicated on get the ball to your good players and let them make good plays.
I guess that's
Baker Mayfield is too reckless with the ball.
That's interesting, though, because you're talking, that's been Baker Mayfield, the starter, Baker Mayfield, the number one overall pick. Like, Baker Mayfield's a very high-level talent if you're asking him to come in and be 2 or 3. Like, that, who's better? Who's available this year where you're like, that's a better quarterback than Baker Mayfield, and we're going to bring him in to be QB3? I don't know if that exists. So for me,
Baker's not taking a job as QB3.
He may not have a choice.
He has. I think he's going to have an opportunity.
And the other thought is, this is if something goes the way it's not supposed to go on Wednesday with Brock. So would you come in and be QB2? I'd argue same thing if the number was 2. That's a pretty talented guy to be your backup.
Yeah, he's pretty talented to be the backup, especially when you compare him to other quarterbacks out there who are backup quarterbacks. If he is truly your 2, if Brock's out for the year and Baker Mayfield is your backup quarterback, put the distractions aside, he would be one of the better backups in football. No doubt.
Yeah, Kyle, what do you got?
So you bring up like Kurt Benkert and Nate Sudfeld. That QB3 kind of role changed to me when the 49ers lost the NFC Championship game the way that they did. So I think they're going to look at a maybe higher level quarterback than we would have seen them go after in the past, just because Trey has not been able to stay healthy. Brock is TBD. And now they're kind of in a spot where, yeah, you know what? Nate Sudfeld's probably not going to cut it for the role that they may need this guy. And I'm of the mind that Baker Mayfield, as talented as he is in this offense, could win a Super Bowl.
That's an interesting point. I mean, my thought always with that is if the 49ers have reached the point where they're like, look, we need 7 quarterbacks because we just cannot let this thing fall away because running out of quarterbacks. Maybe they do feel that way. My question always immediately then goes to the QB. Do you want to come, like if these are named, you want to come be QB3? If Brock gets the surgery and it goes well, and the thought is you're probably going to be ready for week 1. But even if like something in the rehab is wonky and you miss, I don't know, 3 or 4 games, maybe you need an extra month. You as a named QB want to join that room with Brock, in theory, coming back, the presence of someone like Trey Lance.
Right.
You want to join this?
I don't think so.
The only way I would say yes is if the 49ers are in the back room talking to agents. They're like, look, we're actually not. We don't want to play Trey.
Exactly.
We don't want, like, that's the only way I would do it.
That's what makes this all so compelling this week, because Wednesday the surgery, and it will be a successful surgery, knock on wood. Hopefully it's the internal brace and he's out 6 months. At that point, the team will let us know how they feel about Trey Lance, because there's names out there like Chase Daniel, 36-year-old clipboard holding champion of the world. He is a perfect guy to come in. Hey, come be our QB3. And you know what? In 2 years, you might be on our coaching staff because you're that kind of guy. You're cut from that sort of cloth. You've got Nate Sudfeld, Nathan Peterman, John Wolford. These are guys who you can say, hey, we know it and you know it. You're QB3. Yeah. Come on in, hold the clipboard. You can hold it with the left hand. You can hold it with the right hand. The other names you were mentioning, guys like even Teddy Bridgewater, he doesn't want to be a QB3 just yet. But if the Niners are locked in on Baker Mayfield and Carson Wentz and like real QB 1.5 types, that tells you all you need to know about how they feel about Trey Lance.
I forgot about Wentz. Yeah, he's sitting out there too.
How about Joe Flacco as a QB3?
Oh, I mean, how old is Joe?
38.
Yeah,
I mean, have him come in, and again, maybe he's a guy who becomes a coach in waiting.
I like somebody who can move a little bit. I mean, that's not
Super
Matt
Bowl
Ryan
champ.
either, but
he's got that championship pedigree.
Thanks for reminding us. Yeah, Kyle, what's up?
Got a little bit of interesting news here from Matt Barrows. So you mentioned that Mike Silver reported in the San Francisco Chronicle that Brock Purdy's surgery is scheduled for Wednesday. Matt Barrows is now saying, I'm told the surgery is scheduled for Friday. So
Setback.
perhaps right, and so that's where it's kind of interesting. Was it Wednesday, and then he met with doctors, and they went, "Oh, actually, you know what? Friday."
I mean, is 48 hours going to change this story now? That's, you know what I mean? Like,
weird.
Yeah, that is weird. Oh, so we've got
Surgery
49er
scheduled for later in the week.
We've got 49er beat showdown controversy.
Interesting.
Get Silver and Barrows on the air at the same time. Let's let them fight it out.
Ben Albright can moderate.
Let me get my surgeon on the phone.
Albright
the
comes
great
on.
Dr. Michael Krinsky, because I think a lot of times surgeons prefer to do surgery on Mondays and Fridays.
Maybe it's that. Yes, maybe the hospital.
It's actually probably a surgery center. You don't usually do surgery, emergency surgery at hospitals. I shout out the surgery center on Telegraph. I've been cut on there many times. But Doc Krinsky, if you're out there, why Friday? Why
Friday?
You always cut me on Friday?
Well, there's good TV on the weekends.
I guess so.
Like, if you're just going to lay there and do nothing,
That's a good point.
Have a golf tournament on, right?
What a tournament yesterday!
I tried to get the old snippety doodah right during the Masters. I tried, and they did the same thing they just did to Purdy. They called like 3 days in advance. They go, "Oh my gosh, there's this scheduling issue. We're going to have to push it back a week or two." I'm like, I've been planning on 6 months. I've been waiting to do this during the Masters. Hello, friends.
Totally.
And no.
Goodbye, friends.
Yeah. I ended up, what's on in mid-April? I think I ended up with like early season baseball games.
Goodbye, friends.
Yeah, it was brutal.
Won't be seeing you again as the Vas deferens have been severed.
Me and a bag of corn.
Hello, friends.
Yeah, it was weird.
Frozen peas.
Yeah, that too.
Heat, by the way.
Yeah.
Heat.
It's not the heat, it's the humidity down there.
Ice first, then heat, for those of you out there.